Hello and welcome to the health program on Trust Television, where we delve into topics that keep you safe and healthy. I'm Aisha, Salihu. This week on Healthy Living, we're focusing on water safety and emergency response essentials, first aid with insights on cardiopulmonary response, and automated external defibrillators. Joining us are two experts in their fields, a swim expert with Swimpro Lagos, Jumoke Oloyemi, and a first aid expert with the Nigerian Red Cross, Dauda Muhammad. Let's dive right in. Welcome to the program, Dauda and Jumoke. Now, let me give a backgrounder on our topic, and for context, just a few weeks back, Nollywood actor and some of his colleagues, Junior Pope's drowning incident in the river in Delta sparked outrage among Nigerians, especially on social media. While we were recovering from that, another Nigerian legendary ex on X, otherwise known as Fawaz Alabi, drowned at Ibesha Beach in Lagos State. We have seen a number of accidents on 3rd Mainland Bridge where passengers fall into the water underneath, or even passengers on both capsize. There is also several cases of boat mishaps and people drowning in Niger State, even in the South region with mass water bodies. With all of these incidents, questions have been raised on water safety and the need for awareness of it, plus emergency response measures that would have perhaps prevented these avoidable deaths. Now let me start with you, Jumoke. I'd like for you to talk about the essence of water safety and also with reference on one life-saving skill for any water body, that is swimming.
Okay, so water safety is very important for every individual. You hear a lot of people say that they don't want to go near water due to the fear they have, but it's necessary to at least have safety skills. So even before getting close to any water body, any body of water, it's necessary to know some things, have some information before going to a pool, before going to a beach. Now, the current in a beach should not be underestimated. As a swim coach, I wouldn't even go near it. I wouldn't bother. So even for good swimmers, they make mistakes. So one safety measure that I would bring in is for parents to monitor their children. That's the first thing. Having lifeguards at a pool or at the beach is just a backup. But the first thing is monitor people around you, monitor your children, watch them to be sure that everyone is safe at every moment.
Now, just before we even talk about monitoring and all that, and even lifeguard or life jackets and the likes, I'd like for you to also reiterate the importance of swimming as a life-saving skill. I'm saying this because I remember when that post was trending, when that news broke, a lot of people were talking about how, I think I saw a post, a comment on the one blog where Swimpro Lagos actually stated that it is essential for everyone to learn how to swim. And then there were comments under that particular comment where people were also saying that swimming pool is different from beaches, rivers and pools. I'd like for you to make it make sense, make us understand, is there somewhat difference for swimming in the pool and also beaches or other larger water bodies? Is there any variation or difference in the kind of swimming lessons or how to swim in these waters?
Okay, thank you. Learning to swim is learning to swim. Swimming lesson is swimming lesson. So it's best to learn to swim in a pool at the shallow areas and also learn to swim at the deep areas, so that by the time a person finds themselves in a river or a lake or a beach where they need to save themselves, they will save themselves. There are people who use word of mouth to say, oh, this is what you should do, that is what you should do. But the thing is, you need to actually physically go to a location to actually learn to swim. We cannot with word of mouth say, oh, this is what you should do, that is what you should do, without any form of physical experience or trial before then. So beach water, pool water, it's all water. It's just that there's difference here. Some have current, some don't have current, but learn to swim, whether in the pool or at a river, just get the skill wherever you learn it. By the time you are in an unlikely situation, an unpleasant situation at a river or at the beach, you can still save yourself with the skills that you learned while you were in the pool.
So long as you have the swimming skills, it doesn't matter the water body that you're applying it. Now,
That's what I believe.
Let me come to you, Dauda Mohammed. I'd like for you to speak on the importance of knowing the basic first aid knowledge, just in case of emergencies.
Okay, thank you for having me once again. Very quickly, I think this is a very important thing. Whenever somebody is drowning or he or she falls into water, we all know that the mouth and the nose are actually the two parts that is expected for one to inhale air. And in an advert where somebody falls into a water, or a water body to be precise, then instead of air, one takes in or inhale water, and that goes straight into the lungs, goes into the tummy, and of course through the windpipe. So it is important for people to know that air is the first thing, the air we breathe, and then thank God that we don't buy them, because if we have to go to any station to buy them in cylinders, then we could have been gasping for air. So as it were, it is expected of people to know that opening the airways is very key and very essential. And to do that is just very simple. Just put two fingers under the chin and of course a hand on the forehead and tilt the head. That alone, you're opening the airways. If you want to know how people struggle, please fold your chin to touch your neck and give some seconds or minutes, because if you miss the 3 golden minutes, you'll see how stressful it will look to you, because you are no more like breathing. So it's important for people to know that opening airways, when you check for danger and response, the next thing that is essential is opening the airways before we go into other actions.
Yes, I was going to come to all of that, but I'd like for you to take us through first aid. I mean, the basics of first aid, because this is very pertinent. I'm saying this because a lot of people do not even know why it is necessary to administer first aid, regardless of any situation you're in. Now we're looking at water safety and emergencies in case of water accident. But I'd like for you to talk about first aid first, and then why it is necessary and what people should do during that administration of first aid, and also even after.
Okay, thank you very much. I think it's good to also dabble a bit into the definition. Of course, first aid is the first treatment or help that you render to a victim before taking him or her to a doctor. If you read some school of thought, they said before doctors arrive in a station. We all know that in Nigeria, doctors hardly arrive at the scene of an accident or emergency. So it is expected of us to also tilt the definition to suit our context, which is before the person is taken to a medical care or medical care is available. Now, when looking at that, it's very important to know that when somebody is involved in an accident, in this case, let's take the drowning, it is important to look at first the danger. We know that people are involved in different skills, different expertise, different worth of life and things they do. So we don't want to dabble you much with things you begin to ponder, and that's why a formula is there for you to render first aid, which is simply called Dr. ABC, DRABC. First thing to do is to check for danger. The person is drowning. I'm here to help him, or you are there to help, or you are the only person available. Can you help? Check for your danger, because it is better for only the person to, just like the scenarios you painted, the person have fainted, have drowned in water. But if if this lifesaver now jump into the water, it becomes more than one casualty. So you have double or multiple casualties. If you have 5 people jumping into that water body and they don't know how to swim, you have multiple casualties. So it's good to first of all check for danger. Am I safe? First, yes, I'm safe. The bystanders, now that everybody wants to go and see what's happening, people want to do selfies. At times they get slipped and then fall into the same water body. So people, you have to also surround the place and ensure that people coming to watch are not in danger. Then you can now double and think of the danger of the person that is already involved in that accident. And when you do that, you seek for response. Hello, can you hear me? It's possible the person drowning at that point might be able to hear 1 or 2 information or clarification. And you can tell him to to, hold a hard object or position himself in a particular way, and if they do that, they can be able to be safe themselves. You don't have to jump inside. And in a period where you have to jump inside, then you should know that you know how to swim and you know the tactics and the techniques. Don't just go close to the person. Of course, try to bring it. Now, if the person is being brought out, because we have water bodies that have also people that are attached to those water bodies, such as swimmers, all those local swimmers that have one or two things to do and they are expert in the making. Some of them can swim a long distance without, water jackets. So you can look at that and see how possible they can bring out the person. And once they bring it, the next thing, like I said initially, is to open the airways. And of course, the traditional way of supporting people, where people climb on tummy and the chest to be pressing with their legs, marching on the casualty, is obsolete. It's no more in use. People should turn the casualty upside down so that the water can drain by simply putting the person in a recovery position.
I'll come back to CPR and AED, but I'd like for you to touch on the airwaves. You talked about opening the airwaves, and this now brings me to the point where I'd like to know it is out there that the lungs are, say, the first organ of the body that are affected. But I'd like to know, is there like a particular process or procedure it takes before the lungs get filled up, so much so that this person is, say, seen as unconscious or they are at arm's way? I just want to understand the dynamics around all of that.
Yes, just like I mentioned in my first comment, the mouth and the nose is meant for intake and exhaling of air. Now, the reverse is the case, or something different. Now somebody is inhaling water into this system, into the heart, into the lungs. So depending on the time he or she takes to be in that water body, that actually signifies how much quantity of water he or she must have taken into the lungs. And that's actually critical. It is different for somebody to drown for a minute or 30 seconds, and then if you compare to the person that have drawn for an hour, if you compare, you realize that the water that have gotten into the system is in different phases. And of course, just like the question you asked initially, you asked the other colleague online, is the fact that water is dangerous if you don't know how to use it. All the things around us are actually, we are surrounded by risk. Life itself is full of risk. So for water, if you put an infant or a baby into a GP tank, it becomes an ocean for him or her. You understand? Because that can also drown them. So depending on the water body and depending on the time it takes for them to be there, highest 3 minutes, people can go out of their consciousness, and that can lead to drowning. And then, of course, once somebody is not breathing, he or she begins to lose the signs of life. You begin not to see pulse, you begin not to see people breathing, and of course, the blood in the body, the circulation will now stop, and the face become pale before you notice somebody goes the other way. So to treat that person, open the airway, and once they are breathing and there is pulse and their chest is rising and falling, after checking for danger and response, then you place the person in a recovery position. The recovery position will actually make the mouth to be low, the jaw to be forward, and the chest is off the ground. Doing that, you realize that water can easily drain from the human body. And of course, you can also pull the arms forward as they are lying on their back, on their tummy, so you can easily pull the person, and the water keeps coming out. And I said, and I reiterate, don't press the tummy, because in doing that, you rupture some important organs that exist within the tummy or the chest.
Okay, thank you so much for that response. Let me go back now to Jumoke in Lagos State. Now, earlier you talked about lifeguards and life jackets. I'd like for you to, tell us the essence of the presence of lifeguards and, say, the use of life jackets at areas or communities where we have water bodies, or even as little as your home where you have your swimming pool, or even maybe an outdoor area where there is also the presence of swimming pool.
Okay, at every pool location or everywhere you have a body of water, there should always be a lifeguard. It's very important. Now, some people feel that because they are swimmers, they don't need to wear a life jacket. Now, there's something we call open water swimming, where foreigners especially, they go to rivers, lakes, and then they swim. Even these people, with how professional they are, they always have a floater at least 3-4 feet away from them. each of them have a floater. So these are expert swimmers, not to talk of just the immersed swimmers. So everyone, whether you can swim or not, there are some countries where there is a law against not having a swim jacket, not having a jacket when you're going to swim. So it's actually very important. It's very necessary.
Okay. Now, I'd like to hear your thoughts on what you think we can do about enforcing these laws about the use of life jackets, because even after these incidents that we've seen happening and all of these videos that we're seeing on social media, we are still seeing children, and I repeat, children on water bodies, in canoes, boats, traveling along the water bodies, and they're not even wearing safety life jackets. I'd like to hear your thoughts on what you think we can do about these laws and enforcing them right here in our home country, Nigeria.
I think every government has to just take this more seriously. We have to be more intentional about it, especially due to the fact that we're having more water accidents like this. So they should enforce these laws. They should be on standby. They should have individuals who actually ensure that the laws are being effected. So we have, for example, in Lagos, we have the Lagos Cowrie. There are people there to make sure that everyone is wearing a life jacket. And another thing with wearing life jacket is it should be locked, and it should fit the body weight and size of the individual wearing the life jacket.
I was actually going to come to what is expected of a life jacket, how is it expected to look like, because we have seen cases where people just throw on jackets and then they name it life jackets, and we're not even sure if these things actually qualify to be called life jackets. Now, in Niger State, we have recorded several boat mishaps. I mean, you see people, villagers, marketers carrying their goods from one part of the community to another part of the community, say a market, and they have to cross the water bodies. And then we see these accidents happen severally, time and again. I'd like for you to state what you think these boat riders need to do. What precautionary measures do you think they need to put in place just to avoid these avoidable deaths? I must put it that way.
It's just ensuring that they wear their life jackets, even if they are carrying their markets goods, and they should wear a life jacket. Children, adults, everyone, swimmers, non-swimmers. So these people should ensure that before the boat moves, everyone is wearing a life jacket. There isn't more we can do but to ensure that everyone is wearing a life jacket.
But do you think that
everyone should also learn to swim?
Okay, so do you think there should be sanctions meted out to these people, say the boat riders, the people that are actually driving these boats, when they're flouting these rules and orders of wearing either a life jacket or ensuring other safety measures before conveying goods and people across water bodies?
Yes, I think that there should be scapegoats, so that when they see that, this is actually a very strict law and governments are taking it seriously, they would all ensure to comply. So if there should be something, there should be a law against it, a serious law against it.
Okay, so let us circle back now to Dauda in the studio with me. I'd like to hear from you. Earlier you were talking about the first response, what to do with the particular person who is seen to be drowning as a first aider on site. Now, I'd like to hear from you. I stated that we're going to have to talk about cardiopulmonary response and automated external defibrillators. Now, walk us through CPR and AED.
Good. In the first place, we have talked about Doctor ABC, which is the formula. Of course, we talked about D, which is the danger response, is just seeking for a response, trying to know if the person can hear you, or he or she is on alert, or they are alive, sort of. Then opening the airways is actually the A. Then of course you check for breathing. Is your casualty breathing? The easiest way to do that is to check if the chest is rising and falling. And once that is done, I said that you have done your best, put the person in a recovery position, the water can drain. But in a situation where the person, he or she is not breathing, then you turn them facing up, and then of course you look for the center of the chest, which is in between the two nipples, and then place the heel of the hand on the center of the chest and then interlock, and then you compress 30 times very quickly, and that is very important. You have to compress 30 times. I know a lot of viewers will be saying, why 30 times, why 30 times? Of course, you hardly practice anything 30 times and don't get some effective ones. Even if you want to be a footballer today, a Ronaldo or a makeup artist or anything you can think of, you hardly. In short, if you want to be the president of this country, I want to believe if you contest 30 times, we'll just give it to you. Let's see what you have to offer. So it goes with cardiac compression. When you compress 30 times at the rate of 100 to 120 per minute, that's to say you are compressing at least 2 inch of, like the depth of the chest. You're trying to stimulate the heart, and in doing that, you're trying to stimulate. It's just like a vehicle which cannot start, a manual vehicle that you have to push. So you're trying to push or kickstart the heart, and that's why you do the cardiac compression. The compression is 30 times, and once you do the 30 compression, it can be exhaustive. Don't forget to also give 2 breaths to the casualty by blowing air into the mouth, and to do that you have to seal the nose. Now if all this did not work, that's when you use your external defibrillator, the automated external defibrillator, which is the AED. How do we use that? Of course, looking at the topic we are treating is actually talking about drowning. The person that fell into a water and was drowned, he or she is already wet. You need to use another cloth, a towel or a white calico to actually, like dry the person, because he or she might be damp at that instance. And then you expose the chest and place your defibrillator. Defibrillators are easy to use because you have some interference. The defibrillator tells you what to do. It's just like if you have a guide to tell you when you want to cook, first of all, on your gas, put on the pot. It gives you the sequence of what you needed to do. So once you on your defibrillator, it will tell you to place the parts on top of the chest and below the chest. It will even show you the positions. Once you place it, it will analyze your casualty. And if that person needs to be administered the AED, the machine will actually assess and tell you. But if it is not, it will tell you to continue the cardiac compression, which is the 30 compression and 2 rescue breath. But if it is ready to administer for you to administer the AED on your casualty, it will tell you to hands off, meaning you should take off your hand. And of course, anybody that is within the surroundings should also clear off. And then you press in the knob to administer the shock. And as such doing, you're also stimulating in another different way. It is advisable for any organization that have more than 10 persons within that organization to get an AED, because these are essential tools that can also save life.
Earlier, when you defined first aid, you talked about before the arrival of a doctor or a medical personnel, although you also stated that it's not in all cases we have medical personnel arriving at the scene. And so we're told that it is better you move the patient or the victim to a health facility. Now, my question to you at this moment is, whilst you have stated all of what needs to be done during administration of first aid, how long do you think these should last before we eventually say, okay, we have done our part, let us take this person, and this person is perhaps seen as stable now, let us move this person to a health facility?
It is important to check, because when you don't check for airways and you don't know if the person's signs of life are available and you're just rushing him to the hospital, you might succeed in rushing the person to the hospital, but of course, rushing the wrong person to the hospital. Although you have no certification to say somebody is dead. For us as first aiders, we advise, even if the head is cut off, don't conclude. Technologies and God can do the wonders. People have have rose from death, you know, and stuff like that. A lot of people have been in the mortuary for days and they are back to life. Some are in ICU and they are back to life. You might proclaim somebody is dead and you see him in the next market day buying things and stuff like that. So take it to the doctors who will assess the casualty. It is important to know that there are instances where it's best to know the situation before you start rushing the person. So it's not a matter of let's rush him, because at times research have shown that a lot of people in the process of rushing the person to the hospital has caused a lot of damages, more harm than good. For example, that's where you have aggravated spinal injuries. You have people, you know, blood gushing out of the body, and they take the person to the hospital and he has lost of blood. In short, he's dead. At the end of the day, the doctor will only have to give them the certificate to take the dead body away. So it's good to know what is really happening with this person. And it's also advisable, even if the casualty comes back to life and say, I'm okay, and they are ready to give testimonies in the church or the mosque, still tell them to go to the hospital, because that's where they will be thoroughly checked.
We have seen videos. There are lots of parents who take their children to learn swimming in some of these swimming schools. And then we have also seen people bring experts to their homes to train their children in the homes. And then we have also seen videos of children that are somewhat unguarded. You see them, maybe they're actually learning, or they have been certified to know how to swim, and then you just see them swimming in any water body at all. I want to know, what would you recommend as safety measures for children? Because we should also focus on children, because it starts from there. If we have this life-saving skill properly taught and we know how to do them, I believe it grows with us till adulthood. I'd like to hear from you. What do you think should be the requirements and safety measures for parents who recklessly allow their children unguided to swim in the name of learning, or they have perfected swimming without any form of guidance, and those who just who are also planning or have also enrolled their children into swimming classes?
Okay, you spoke of people who have swimming pools in their homes and call people to come teach their children to swim. So let me start from there. For families that have a pool in their home, it's very necessary to barricade the swimming pool. You know, some people procrastinate doing that. They're probably thinking of a aesthetic. It's not going to look nice, but this is for safety. So it's necessary to do that. And then when children swim in the pool, when they're done swimming, it's important to take out any toys around the swimming pool area, because later on, when no one is watching, they might be tempted to go pick up the toy and then go into the water. So when learning to swim, maybe at swim schools or schools where they bring professionals to come teach the students to swim, I'll suggest that about 2 or 3 teachers are also monitoring, instead of the swim coach just training the children alone. They should be monitored. And when people go out for leisure and have their children swimming, even teenagers, even adults, there should be lifeguards, and everyone should watch out for each other.
Let me circle back to you, Dauda. Your final thoughts on the guidelines for first aid.
Okay, basically, like I said, the most important thing is to check for danger for yourself, and of course the danger for your casualty, and of course the bystanders. Bystanders can make your work very difficult. You know, at times when you come to render first aid, people that know next to nothing will be the one advising you. Pull the leg, pull the head, remove this, take that. And before you notice, somebody is just there to loot from the casualty. Very important. At the end of the day, you end up becoming a victim, giving some report in the station. Maybe you have rescued somebody, and in the process of giving him or her first aid, somebody have taken their wallet or pouch or even shoes. It is that bad. So people should watch out for that. And once danger is there, of course, once there is no danger, then you know that you're safe. Try to seek for response. Like I said, don't go to any place and just start giving first aid without checking for response. You might go to our office.
We can take at this moment. Thank you so much for your thoughts. We had a Swimpro an expert, a swim expert from Swimpro Lagos, Jumoke Oloyemi, and also we had Dauda Mohammed, a first aid expert with the Nigerian Red Cross Society. Thank you so much for joining us on the program.
Thank you.
That concludes this episode of the program. For comments, contributions, and suggestions on this episode, do well to follow and subscribe to all Trust TV social media platforms. Until next time, I am Aisha Salihu. Thanks for watching.